This is Midday, a program about people, places, and events in the coastal Carolinas. Now, here's your host, Art Banner.
Good afternoon, Carolina. All of you, both in North and South Carolina. We're happy to have you with us today. On Monday, July 23rd, this past Monday, an incident occurred in the New Hanover County Jail which involved an awful lot of people. One of them was Eyewitness News 3 Director John Randt. John is our guest today, and John is going to talk to us about what took place in the New Hanover County prison. Is it safe to call it a prison, or is it the jail?
Well, it's the county jail. It has been for many years, too many years, really.
Arose by any other name. All right, now, recap for us just exactly what had happened at the time you had gotten the call and arrived on the scene.
Well, what occurred Monday, Art, is something that really doesn't happen here often. Actual hostages, a jail disorder. Obviously, one of the year's big stories. It's right at the top already, and the year's not over with. Essentially, the two jailers who were unarmed were seized within the internal confines of the jail. Their keys were taken. These men were themselves in prison and taken hostage. And other prisoners were let out. And at that point, at least 60 or more, I've never really heard an accurate count, prisoners were milling about inside the jail, out of control.
At that time, you arrived on the scene, and you went inside. How were you selected to go inside the prison? That's what I want to know.
It was rather informal. There have been reports that I was selected by name by the prisoners inside. This really is a bit far-fetched. I was with other members of the media, and Captain Evans, who is one of the top-ranking members of the Sheriff's Department, came down and stated they wanted one television-type reporter. And I volunteered for this. I might say that just about everybody else volunteered, too. I did, when I made the claim to volunteer, I said I will supply exactly what I have, very first thing, to the rest of you. And there were no objections to me going.
Now, this is the first time that you said that a pool like this was formed.
To my knowledge, this is the first time in the history of the city that there has been a pool reporter, per se, who has gone in and represented the other media. Now, once in an Allen Hall situation, ourselves and our television competitor, we worked together, but in that case it was using one camera, the other camera. But this was essentially a true pool, and this is the first time to my knowledge
that something like this has occurred. What do you suppose the conditions were that led up to this outbreak, this disturbance?
We've never really had an opportunity to really question at length any of the people that were up there, but from what we have learned from the law enforcement officers who detail with us every day, it was extremely hot. This is one of those July hot, humid nights in the southern summers. We were up there. The first thing I did when I got out of there was literally consume 2 cans of lemonade, just consume. It was very hot. When you're in the jail, it's almost like you're in the confines of some ship, the battleship North Carolina, if you will. Tight metal bulkheads surround you on the ceiling, on the walls.
No lighting.
Very poor lighting.
Inadequate lighting.
It's a very poor prison.
All right. You brought some tape along with you.
Yes, Art. Many of these scenes have not yet been seen by the public. I'm very happy to show them for the first time in your show, and I think we'll probably run them here in a minute.
Okay. So let's take a look at that, because I think that is important that they understand the situation at the time.
This is what we saw when we arrived. The crowd had begun to form. That 5th floor right at the top is where the prisons are. These were the police and the fire units that were originally called, and they're maintaining a station. Here are some of the spectators that came up. Within these windows, we heard shouts that 2 men were under the gun and that they would be killed if certain demands were not met. Okay, this is the first scenes from inside. These show some of the police, some of the firemen, some of the deputies who have been brought inside to look over the situation. And they had good attitudes. I made small jokes with many of them. I've known many of them for years. And these are just some scenes. There was much concern about the 2 men inside. There was no information about their condition, and here's some negotiating going on right now. Now, very soon, the actual assault will take place, and I'm going to let that run with just the wild sound as it occurred without myself talking. And it will be coming up. With it will be a short block section on the screen, and this is nothing wrong with the set. It's right after this. This is some of the actual negotiatings as it going on, and it will be coming up right after Radowitz talks to his people here. honest to God, bona fide, negotiated.
I'll hold it right here. I'll hold it right here. Take your time. Take your time. Get back that federal cell. Turn the light off, John.
Okay, once this break-in occurred, John, what happened then? There were some wild reports and exaggerated stories about the treatment toward the prisoners when this occurred. What happened?
Well, I think this is a good case to have a neutral, impartial observer at conditions like this. We were there, the camera was there. Of course, it could have been as well as me, and it could have been anybody else, but I think it's a good thing to have. I did not see any allegations. Several people have come in to look at our original raw tapes, and they have gone away satisfied that the men were handled in reasonably humane conditions, in spite of what had just occurred.
Okay, what kind of demands did these people make?
This man in the middle of the screen, you could just see, he needed $27 to get out on bail. He said, maybe my father will see me. Now, as far as the prisoners, I heard many shouting that they were there and they shouldn't be there. They were picked up without reason. One man in particular had been arrested that very day. One prisoner yelled out, this is while I was on 3rd Street, I heard him say, I've got 180 years, I have nothing to lose.
All right, let me get...
Was there any kind of organization?
This is a hostage right here, excuse me. This man right here is Sergeant Robinson. He's just been released. He's being taken into the back office area. The camera follows him a little bit. He and the other officer barricaded themselves in the cell. They were locked in a cell. They used their own handcuffs to lock themselves in. And
To make
they
sure.
were actually safe from the actual harm from the prisoners. But this was unknown until the break-in occurred.
And that, of course, is Sheriff Tom Radowitz.
Stormed the jail, so to speak, and we just it was sort of a matter of numbers after that.
Was there much resistance?
There was very little resistance.
Is anybody injured?
No one injured as far as we can tell at this point.
This is one of the lights played on the outside. I didn't see any of this. Now this is as the prisoners are brought downstairs, and they were taken to many area jails. Art, as you know, the jail right now is only being used for those prisoners that will go into the courtroom on a given day. The jail is virtually shut down.
So, in other words, it seems to me that, and I've seen the jail. We did a show there once on alcoholics, and it is an archaic, absolutely stifling, an oppressive atmosphere. I know people will say, well, when you're in prison or in a jail-type situation, that's the way society is, but that really shouldn't be it. I mean, you can at least have a neat, clean, light facility where you can at least see to read.
Well, I think this is what the new law enforcement center, which is directly across the street, addresses. The fact that it's arriving 2 years late. I think these incidents, the escape we had recently in which nobody knew the prisoners were gone until somebody arrived to pick up a prisoner.
You know, if that center had been finished 2 years ago when it was supposed to be, this possibly might not have occurred. So really the blame does not lie with the Sheriff's Department. The blame lies with a lot of people, the county commissioners, the people who are constructing it, who haven't gotten it finished yet. It seems that it's just a multiplicity of events that has led to something like this.
Government officials give reasons for the fact that the center's not done, but the problem I have is private enterprise does not have problems getting projects done on completion. Why should New Hanover County have a problem?
Okay.
This troubles me.
That's a big question. It's one that should be answered, but on this program I want to ask you another thing. The cooperation between the Wilmington Police Department and the New Hanover County Sheriff's Department was really one of the first unique situations of its kind that I've seen, outside of roadblocks and setting up, various systems that have been discussed between the two. What was the cooperation like? Were they together? They weren't just police department and sheriff's department?
Well, cooperation among all the agencies was excellent. Now, the preponderance of men, of course, were city and county. There were some from Carolina Beach, there were some state troopers, and probably a couple others. I think the catalyst for this excellent cooperation was the fact that there were 2 hostages. There were 2 men that were behind these series of steel doors, and their fate was unknown.
And officials didn't know what was going to happen to them.
Their fate was unknown.
One other question. We're running out of time, and I want to get this in. How do you feel the whole situation was handled by law enforcement officials? Now, you've been around both the police department and the sheriff's department. You're a member of the National Guard, so you're aware of situations like this. How do you think it was handled? Was it done in the proper manner?
Art, I would have to give generally high marks. They've learned a few lessons. They're going to, for instance, bolt vending machines so they can't be used to block doors. They've learned, I think, some ideas about internal security. But so far as the people that came after the occurrence, they stopped the loss. They protected the area. They kept the crowds back, kept the prisoners in. They tried to settle it through humane, nonviolent means. And when it was pretty obvious that that would not be done, or at least not be done on a long, drawn-out scale, they acted quickly and decisively in a well-planned maneuver. And, of course, the payoff was it worked so well. The payoff was it worked so well. And I was, Redowitz, he's a new man, but he had control of these people. The police chief, Bristol, the fire chief, Ship, did not make any efforts to control the situation. They were there to assist a little with the coordination of the men. They were silent partners. So Radowitz led it.
So it was basically the sheriff's and the sheriff's department's operation.
Radowitz led it. L.P. Hayes negotiated it. It was a sheriff's department operation.
Okay. So overall, you'd say it's just good it's over.
It's very good it's over, and hopefully the center will be done soon.
Can you encapsulate how you felt when you walked up those stairs and you didn't know what was coming off?
A tremendous feeling for a newsman to be under the power curve, to be in a situation where news media rarely gets to go. We are brought in later. We're brought in to photograph the damage done. We photographed the prisoners being led away outside. We filmed it going down, Art.
In other words, you felt it was fulfilling.
Much. That's why I'm doing it.
I've always said you're a good newsman and a good news director and also good Eyewitness News 3 producer. We want to thank you very much for joining us, John, and for showing us the film. We hope that you've enjoyed it, and will join us tomorrow when Randy Gent will be our guest from the Loris Merchants and Trade Association. We're going to talk about some big events happening there. Have yourself a good day.